All right. So today we're looking at Jean Piaget, and Piaget is a bit different than Freud. In fact, he's very different than Freud. Whereas Freud is more about kind of gaining control of our id and dealing with the struggles that go through life. Piaget is focused on kind of two things. One, how do we develop as individuals from young to about 11 years old? And kind of at the same time, because with Piaget, these two things happen at the same pace. How do we develop into the kind of person that is able to integrate into the larger society? So think about that for a second. What are the things that you need to be able to integrate in society? Take a few seconds, think about that a little bit. Now, think about those things that you have to do to integrate in society, just so people can understand what you mean when you integrate someone into society. So again, there's a lot of layers to this. And so yeah, so kind of keep that in mind. So, kind of what's going on with him. Well, kind of two things. One, he studied small children um, when they would play with each other. And so, like when you have little kids playing at the park and those types of things, he would see how those children would interact with each other. And what he would notice was that the games they played, whether it be tag, hide and seek, make believe, these are the ways that children learn how to interact with society. So with Piaget, it's really this. Um, and this is something that's kind of separates him from Freud. Whereas Freud is more of kind of mastery of the inside to develop, Piaget is more of a how do we interact with outside of us. So how do we interact with our parents? How do we interact with our friends? How and then to kind of make it a little bit weirder, how do we in essence interpret our interactions with other people? So these are Piaget's four stages that he would lay out. You got your sensory motor, this is around when you're 0 to 2 years old. And really what this is coordinating the senses with our motor responses. So like for example, imagine we're in our classroom. I'm standing at the front of my desk or at the front of the room and I'm lecturing like usual. And then I take my water bottle that I usually have. Like here it is right here. Here's the water bottle. You see it? Cool. Now imagine I throw it at you. What do you have to do in order to either A, catch the water bottle, or B, dodge it? So what happens is we have to, when we're around 0 to 2 years old, the main thing we're focusing with is coordinating our senses with our motor responses. Around this time as well, language is being used for demands and cataloging. Now, 1 year old child is not going to, in essence, talks. Say, I'm hungry, I poop myself, I do these types of things. Little kid's not going to do that. What they're going to do is they're going to cry. And what happens, especially if you're a mom or your parents, when you guys start having kids, one of the things that's going to happen is you're going to be able to listen to the tone of the scream and, in essence, interpret what's going on. Whether it be I'm hungry, I'm tired, I poop myself, it's gas, my teeth are coming in. So even though the baby's crying, what they're doing is they're learning how to communicate. Now, it starts off basic with just cries, and then eventually it picks up into actually making words and sounds and those types of things. Also around this time is the idea of object permanence. Like, for example, you guys have not been to the school in about 2 weeks, right? Give or take 2, 3 weeks. Yeah, something like that. And one thing that you are probably sure of right now is the fact that school still exists. Even though you cannot see it, you know it's there. And this is what object permanence is. It's the kind of belief that you can know something is there even though you don't see it. This is why when you're playing with little children at this time, one of their favorite games is actually like the peekaboo game, where you literally hide behind your own hands right in front of them and you go, "Where am I? Where am I? There I am." And then you watch the baby go, "Ah, funny." So that's that sensory motor stage. The next is the pre-operational. This is 2 to 7, and what is being developed here is, in essence, what we call symbolic thinking. And this goes hand in hand with words. The words that they learn, how to use those words, how I can say something like, "Hey, this is cool. Is it cool if I crash on your couch? It's cool outside?" The word cool, I have used it in 3 different ways. In order to really grasp that, requires a bit of symbolic thinking. And again, the use of syntax, the language, or the rules of language, and grammar in order to begin to express full concepts. Imagination, intuition are very, very strong. Um, in essence, what this means is they can imagine things that happen. They can recreate things in their minds. But sometimes complex, abstract thought can still be difficult. So, for example, like you guys can imagine what it's like to go to school, normally. You go to class, you sit at a desk, yada, yada, yada. Now, what I want you to do, take a couple seconds, pause the video if you have to, but what I want you to do, and you can jot this down on a sheet of paper, imagine what the school would look like if we were mer people. Mermaids, mermen, living into the ocean. What would school look like? And to do that requires complex abstract thought. Because again, break it down to the nitty gritty. What would the rooms look like? What would the school look like? What would everything look like? And then again, around this time too is the idea of conservation. This is where this is developed as well. And if you want, there's a little experiment you can kind of do. Let me reach over. Ouch. I got 2 sheets of paper, right? I got 2 sheets of paper. You can see it. So here's what you do. Take one of the papers, crumple that. Same or different as far as mass goes. So you say the same, yes, that's conservation. It's also around the time where, again, you see little things involved, like, little Timmy takes 4 quarters and a dollar bill. This is around that time when little Timmy can go, "Oh, 4 quarters and a dollar mean the same thing." Um, and again, this is around that time when this is being developed. So yeah, the next part are concrete operational. This is around 7 to 11. And pretty much what happens is concepts are attached to concrete situations. Time, space, quantity are understood, can be applied, but not as independent concepts. Really what this means is this. You're not going to be asking a little kid, um, what would be a good example? Well, in essence, it's really this. Things are concrete. they're not, they can kind of separate them a little bit. Like they can discuss time, but they're not going to go into the deep theoretical, philosophical things of time. Um, their things are tied to very, very much in the this is what reality is. If I do this, this is going to happen. If I walk up to mommy and say, I hate you, mommy, um, that is going to make mommy sad. That is really it. They're not going to really have a concept of thinking, okay, because you said that, how might mommy act later down the future or down the line in the future? That doesn't really come along until you have what's called formal operations. This is 11 to pretty much forever for the rest of your life. All of us are pretty much in this stage. And what this is the theoretical, hypothetical, counterfactual thinking comes in. Um, and very, very abstract logic and reasoning can kind of come into this play as well. Um, strategy, planning is possible. And what happens is pretty much everything that's been learned before, you can apply it to something theoretical. So, for example, let's just say, for example, what would happen if August comes and we're still all in lockdown? We still don't show up to school. That's not happening. How will our society, how would your life, how would those change? How would they be the same? How, and again, you're going to break this out and apply it even further. What would the world look like at that point? How would the economy work at that point? This is those formal operation type questions. Um, kind of the realm of theories and stuff like that as well. So here's kind of a little diagram showing kind of Piaget's stages of development. Sensory motor is, the little kid is holding the glass of water. They're interacting with the world through their, tactile senses. Pre-operational stage, they're understanding that that is water. They're using their language to describe what it is. Concrete operational is okay. You got the kid. He's got two different kinds of glasses. One looks like, I don't know, a hurricane glass, and the other one just looks like a regular glass. He's able to understand it's the same amount of water, it's just put in different containers. And then you got the formal operational stage where, again, you have the cliche of, is the glass half empty or half full? Um, but again, that's kind of the question. How do you look at that glass? Is it half empty? Is it half full? That's, again, kind of a theoretical thing that we jokingly debate that. But again, it's all about how we interact with the world. So, what does all this have to do with kind of socializing and stuff like that? Well, what happens is really this. As we develop, we go more and more and more abstract in our thought processes. So, this is key to our ability to have what if hypotheticals. What if we stay in, lockdown till August? What if you fail your class? What if you, I don't know, don't do your homework? What if you do this? What if you do that? This is how we're able to kind of make guesses and predictions about the rest of the future. Also, this is key to our empathy. If we can, in essence, because when we put ourselves in someone else's shoes, what we're doing is we're taking ourselves out of us and putting ourselves in them. And that involves pretty much hypothesizing, guessing, coming up with a theory, coming up with an idea. If I do this, this is how that other person is going to react. Therefore, I need to act like this. And Then you take all these things and then you look at how this works as far as our social development goes. And really, it's this: we learn these formal operations, how to concretely exist in life. So, for example, um, imagine a little kid playing, or a group of little kids playing tag at the park. They're running around, they're tagging each other. Oh, tag, you're it. Tag, you're it. They run around. And then you have that one kid, and that one kid gets tagged, and that one kid says, "No, I'm not tagged. I'm not going to be tagged." What do you think the other kids would ultimately do? Ultimately, what would probably happen is that one little kid is going to be cut off. Like the rest of the group is not going to play with them anymore because they're not playing by the rules. And that little kid who was cut off, they have kind of a choice to make. Do they start playing the game with the rules and be more or less allowed to rejoin society, or do they just continue not playing the rules and end up being cut off from society? And it's the same thing what happens if somebody commits a crime. Ultimately, when somebody is committing a crime, they're not playing by the rules of the society at large. So they don't play by the rules, they get cut off, they get put in a box. And so all the little different rules and games that we play when we're in like elementary school, like early elementary school, those are how all those basic principles and the sociomotor stage, pre-operational, formal, all those different things, those are how we progress socially. So this is kind of the other half of what he was all about.